Good afternoon. Okay, excuse the state of me. I've just got out of the shower. I tried to do this yesterday and it didn't work out too well. So I'm going to tell you a little story, and it's the story of when I went up Merapi. Okay? The brochure said, Arduous Tour, challenging and for the fearless. I thought this was a tour for me until I came face to face with Mount Merapi, a 400-year-old active volcano which last erupted in 2010, claiming over 200 lives. Merapi is not to be ridiculed. Maybe I should have been wise when I realised I was the only person not 100% fit and healthy. When I realised I was the only person to have no prior mountain climbing experience at all. Yeah, should have been wise. But I realised I wanted to face this challenge head on, and I wanted to prove to myself that I'm headstrong and can do anything if I really want. So after travelling 2,000 metres uphill in a bus that had so much pressure put on it, it was weeping, I was standing at the bottom of the 2,900 metre hike looking up as I thought, let's be having ya. The path was a steep incline from the word go, putting pressure on your calf muscles, but nothing was to prepare me for what was to come. You push past the pain barrier fairly quickly. You can regulate your breathing, and things seem to be going okay when you're approached with wet mud on a 90% angle. At least that's what it felt like, and that was the easy part. Whilst you're concentrating on trying not to slip up on this mud, the path throws an obstacle in your way. Rocks, large, loose rocks, and so the rock climbing begins. This would be a good point for me to remind you that this was a nighttime tour. It's pitch black, some parts lit by the moon, but mainly all you have to guide you is the footprints in front of you, the footsteps in front of you even, and the very dim light of the headlamp you have been loaned, which seemed to do nothing. After about an hour of frantic scrambling up the rocks, we come to the first rest break. We are already so far up, the landscape of scattered lights is stunning. We allow a 5-minute break to have water. The guides have a smoke before we continue scrambling. Loose rocks fall down from the people in front. There are large dips where a river once ran, and big trees with low branches. Some places baby steps are needed, and at others large giant steps, each step still presenting the risk of slipping. I continued on and on, going, pushing myself with the thought of, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, in my head like the noise of a train. The air is getting thinner, my breathing getting heavier, when we stop at the next point and I realise we are now above the clouds. Another 5-minute break and it's onwards. About halfway through the third section, as I'm climbing up a huge rock after banging my shin again, and I'm now being overtaken by each group member, doubt starts to creep in. With doubt, my breathing gets heavier and heavier, and I shout out to the nearest guide in front that I have to stop to control my breathing, as I feel I'm about to have a panic attack. The guide kindly waited with me before taking my hand. The guide did not let go of my hand the rest of the way, squeezing my fingers so tight I thought he was going to break my hand, and tugging on my arm, pulling me, which was in some way a relief, but others he was not helping. But he could not understand me, and I could not understand him. We continued on, me continually slipping. After about another half hour, we came to the next stop, and I said to my guide that I don't think I could continue. My vertigo had kicked in big time, and I was struggling to stand. My breathing was heavy, and I felt scared. This is hard work, but it's not. I've pushed through the pain barrier. It's not that. It's the vertigo that I'm suffering with, a bit dizziness, almost like I'm going to fall over. But I'm stubborn. I'm going to keep going, and I will get to the top. At that point, I felt very alone. The guide said we must continue. I went another 15 minutes when I said I needed to stop for water. It was at that point I slumped in a mess and started to cry. That I can do this, in my head, had turned to, you're so stupid. After having a cry, I actually felt better, a little energised, and told the guide I felt I could continue. He told me we were nearly at the second to last checkpoint. It was then that I slipped again, twisted my ankle and bruised it. I was in pain. Even slower than ever, I reached the checkpoint. It was around 4 a.m. at this time. I asked the guide how much further in, which he replied, 1 hour and a half. And we have lost everyone else by this point. They're quite far ahead. It was at this point, around 2,200 metres up, that I said to him I was not continuing. We were at a great spot, the sky looked amazing. I said to the guide, "You should go on, catch up, and I'll wait here until they come back down." He was reluctant, but I insisted he left me alone. I was near the top of the mountain, I was as safe as I could be. He left and I inwardly celebrated my alone time. I was disappointed at first, desperately wanting to have reached the summit and not be beaten. Then I realised I had made an amazing achievement. I had climbed around 2,200 metres up a volcano by sheer willpower. I had no experience and no knowledge, and despite everything I had been through, I had made it far enough to see this. That's the summit where everyone else will be. It's, as the tour guide was saying, it would have taken another hour and a half to get up there. But that is pretty much where we came from, where we started. 2,900 metres from there. It was bloody freezing on top of the mountain. I was wearing a jumper, jacket and gloves and was huddled in a ball trying to keep myself warm. About 3 hours later, when the sun had risen, the group returned and we started to descend down Merapi. The path was much easier going down on the rocky parts, and for most of the way I made good, easy progress. However, the guide decided that he was going to take hold of my hand again. As he did so, he made me slip and I couldn't regain my balance. As he tried to save me, As he tried to save my fall, he lost his balance too, and we both went tumbling down a large drop. I whacked my head on a rock, but I was okay, other than a sore ear. I was extremely lucky that I had landed on my back, meaning my rucksack saved me from potentially breaking my back. The guide had hurt his arm though. I thought he must have a dislocated shoulder, the way he was going on, and he asked one of the guides to pull his arm hard. He had a cut on his hand that he was concerned about, so I gave him an antiseptic wipe and a plaster, and I told him I would not take his hand, I was doing fine by myself. For the rest of the way down, I used my hands, feet, and sometimes going on my bum, and we made good progress. Then it got to the muddy, slippery part, and I was struggling to stay upright. It was in the daylight that I could actually appreciate the journey I'd taken. The path was wet, loose, and incredibly dangerous. On one side at points there was a steep cliff with nothing barricading the way. This trip I had taken could have been life-threatening. If I had fallen down that cliff, there would be no coming back up. The guide insisted on taking my hand again, something I was later told was a mistake on his part, as I was doing better on my own. When we got to flat, even ground, finally the sense of relief was immense. However, this made my body feel as if it was done and my legs turned to jelly. I was going so slowly anyway, but on the flat ground I couldn't manage more than a few steps before I had to let my legs gain composure. At last we reached home base and my legs gave way. I fell into the homestay and everyone said to me that it had been the hardest climb they had ever done. They were almost experts saying this to me. On the way down, Indonesian people passed us several times, all of them commenting to the guide about me. I knew they were ridiculing me, but I don't care. I just stared a life-threatening experience in the face and to the best of my ability achieved something my mind and body were not set up for. I don't care if they thought I was slow or weak inside. I am the strongest I have ever been before. The experience was the worst experience of my life, but the sense of accomplishment triumphs all. I am proud of myself. If I was fit, healthy and had some experience behind me, I would definitely attempt it again because the views were stunning and what an experience. But right now, I'll say thank you, Merapi, and good night.